Welcome back, dear friends. Apologies for the previous rambling video on e-ink or e-paper. What seemed to going to be such a simple thing, just write a word on it, as you've seen if you've watched it, has taken 7 or 8 days of intense learning. But I'm getting there, slowly but surely, tenacious as ever. So, on to more exciting things this time, because now it is time to hopefully be able to construct letters to enable me to write a word, which can then be displayed on one of 3 pieces of e-paper to display the day, date and month. That's what we're working towards somewhere down the line. Art Deco curvy bits, nice. So as my 2 teenage children have finished their GCSEs, they're now at home, getting in the way everywhere, so I've managed to get everything I need, 2D design and the Arduino IDE, on my laptop, so I can sit in the nice dark peaceful environs of the workshop. I've uploaded the sketch which draws a square in each corner of the e-ink paper thing. I'm going to measure the dimensions and then put it on to 2D design, actual dimensions, and there's the font, and I'm going to fiddle around with that and try and construct this out of each letter. Well, I'm going to start with one letter first. Out of quadrilaterals, that's it, out of quadrilaterals, rectangles, and lots of circles. How well that'll work, I don't know, because if you remember the last video, I had written a little function to draw a, I've forgotten, quadrilateral thing, using only 10 bytes of information, and I worked out how many pixels, because that's vector graphics. If this was drawn as is normal with these e-ink display things, with bitmaps, that would be 2,500 pixels, just the middle bit. So that is a huge saving. In other news, I seem to have acquired a bookcase in the workshop with lots of strangely titled books. Spike Snot, for example. I was married to my wife for about 15 years before she realised that this kitchen bookcase was actually hiding the central heating boiler. How lovely. Excellent. Just shows you can have all sorts of books. No one really, well, they look like books, but no one actually reads the titles. Here's the bit that covers up the top of the central heating boiler. Load more of them, because sadly, after I put it in 35 years ago, the lovely old Potterton Flamingo central heating boiler has finally given up the ghost. The gas valve and little thermocouple thing or whatever it is has stopped working, and I've been thinking about it because the fuel bills in the UK are astronomical, absolutely ridiculous. And this, the old boiler is, I think, well, hang on, I'll show you. Here it is, hidden away in the corner of the kitchen. 65%, because I looked it up a few years back, 65% efficient, which is not good. So the other full 35% of all the gas energy used just goes out the flue. So I wanted to replace that with one of the modern condensate boilers, which are 96% efficient. So I can't do it myself because I'm getting too old to lift huge great chunks of cast iron around, and also I'm not allowed to have anything to do with gas. I hasten to add, when I put this in, I had a friend who was a qualified Corgi registered gas fitter, and he did the gas work. But yes, so I'm waiting for a plumber. Actually, it is brilliant, because it means that I'm saving a fortune on fuel, because my 2 teenage children cannot carry on having 2 showers a day each, in the power shower lasting sort of 20 minutes. Absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, I do try and make a fuss, but it's just a give it a rest, granddad sort of attitude, despite all the global warming and everything else. So this is fantastic. They're allowed to have showers using the electric shower in the bathroom. That's fine, because it dribbles out quite slowly because the water pressure here is so bad. Great, nice short showers. And the lovely old immersion heater is secretly heating up the water for washing and things like that. Thankfully they haven't realised that it also heats the water in the cylinder that the power shower runs off. No one else in this family has a slightest clue about how the heating system works. Not a clue. So that's nice. So I've drawn out the rectangles outside and left 0.5 mm sort of safety margin in. I found that March is the widest month, so I'm going to start with that just to get it a range, see what it looks like. M is the widest letter of all of them, so I know that that's the size that I need to have that paint area set to, and that's quite nice and narrow. I'm pleased about that because I think we can fit that within the 1024 bytes. Actually, I thought the first letter I'd do would be the R, because obviously it's got the curvy bits as well. Here's the result. There's the proper one, proper font. Here's my attempt. It's not bad until it comes to the curve at the top. It's all a bit raggedy. I know I could have more circles to smooth it out. I don't know. I mean, each circle, obviously, you only have 2 dimensions for. You have the centre of it, and you have the diameter. So it's quite an effective, useful use of memory. I'm going to have a think. And also I noticed that the R, this part of it, wasn't parallel. So I've got lots to think about. What I really need to do is write a function to create filled parallel polygons. That's it. That would make life so much easier. And you just draw, you know, lots of little straight lines around the outside. I think that's how I did the Gregorian scribbulator. This happens so often. I'm trying to make an Art Deco clock, and now all I'm doing is trying to work out the mathematics of drawing filled polygons, irregular polygons. That's it. I think that's what they're called. Oh, I've just spent another hour on the internet trying to find a library or anything. Apparently, as I've so frequently found before with these projects, no one's ever needed to do it, or has just given up. However, I'm not going to give up, of course. So I was thinking, well, if I can draw a black circle, then draw a white circle, starting here, then overlap it with black bits and over here, and I might be able to sort of build it up. And the thing is, what I intend to do is to save each letter as just a long array of coordinates and possibly sort of instructions. This is a circle, this is a something or other, rectangle. So anything is possible like that. I'm going to now write a bit of code with the e-paper to see whether I can overwrite bits with different colours, well, with black and white and things. So I've drawn one circle which is coloured. The area is uncoloured, so it's white. The first one is coloured, the black circle. Then I've overdrawn it partly with a white circle. And look! Oh, little steps, but they're so enjoyable. That's amazing. That opens up so much potential. I hadn't even considered of sort of additive. I've been thinking about additive drawing with shapes, but subtractive as well opens up a whole new plethora of opportunities. Excellent. By Jove, I think we may be onto something. Here's one using the subtractive technique to make the circle. You can see how many. There's about 5 objects there, all that can be drawn on the fly, so to speak, not loads and loads of coordinates or anything. And that's the result it gives. I've just left the lines on so I can see what I'm doing. That is remarkable, I tell you. That's very similar. The only thing is, and I can't let it go, would not let it lie, is that this isn't actually parallel. This part, it gets slightly narrower, and I just cannot bear it. I think I'm going to have to add some features to my parallel or whatever drawing function, so all 4 bits can be slightly different. It's just got to be right, and I've got this far into it. Glutton for punishment. The other fabulous thing about vector graphics is obviously you can make letters any size you want. Once you've got the coordinates, you can shrink them down, enlarge them, squish them, squash them, stretch them, which is really good, very, very useful. This is what makes it all worthwhile. It is so exciting. I've got a test one drawn out, and look, It's done it. It's drawn it. Oh, that's amazing. When I fiddle around and try some more different sort of shapes, ooh, I get a step closer. Here's another test. It's drawn it. Oh, this is so exciting. Oh, dear friends, it can even draw triangles. Oh, all sorts of different triangles. So what I need to do now is to finish drawing over that R shape, the letter, and then somehow get all the one useful thing about 2D design is you can save drawings, CAD files, as plot files, old-fashioned plot files, where they are a text file of the coordinates, which is really handy for this sort of thing. So do that, and then I've got to work out how to store all these different figures and send them to the right drawing functions. What fun! I've just got back from walking the dog. It's absolutely boiling outside, probably about 35 degrees or so, which is very hot for the where we live. Oh, I'm exhausted. Ziggy is absolutely flaked out. Let her cool down before I give her dinner. But I've realised I am trying to design an Art Deco clock. There are stages and steps and things, but trying to learn how to decode DXF files or plot files is absolutely ridiculous. I did save the simple drawing as a DXF file, CAD sort of standard, but that is, I remember looking at that with the other thing, the Gregorian scribulator, and it was just too complicated. There's the plotter file, that is just too complicated. So my executive decision whilst walking the dog, is just to dimension this with arrows. It's so simple. I think that's well worth doing rather than wasting even more time, because I can see, I think I've got everything sorted out now, so it's very exciting. What a delightful way to spend a day, a Sunday in fact. I'm going through this and I'm measuring, I'm just doing each bit because it's just too many dimensions. They'll just pile up and not be able to make head nor tail of it, I tells you. So I'm measuring, currently I'm doing this rectangle that I've worked out I need there. So I'm getting all the measurements and then I'm putting them into a spreadsheet for want of something better to do. Because I had to blow up the drawing by 5 to get it big enough so that I could actually get these dimensions on, otherwise these were bigger than the actual letter itself, number character. I'm going to have to then divide each result by 5 and then multiply it by 4.45, which I've worked out is the number of pixels per millimetre. So it's easy just to do it on a spreadsheet because then I can do all the maths there and then start putting them into the Arduino. How very exciting. And I have a code difference, a code. C, circle, C, coloured, R, rectangle, U, uncoloured. Do you see? So hopefully this will make some sense. I like to think, keep telling myself, R is the most complicated, one of the most complicated. I have my suspicions that S actually is going to be the most complicated, but the other letters hopefully will be easier. Well, that's interesting for an R, complicated shape. There's only, how many lines that is, 7 lines, 7 lots of drawing. What I've done is over here, I've just copied all the results, but I've multiplied them by 5 and divided by 5 and multiplied by 4.45 to try and turn them into pixels. I'm sure there's a better way of doing this. So what I'm going to do now is to put them into an array in the Arduino. The excitement is tangible, I tells you. So what I've done now is I've put all those figures from the spreadsheet into an array, and I realised of course that because they're such small numbers, because the fact is that the area, the paint area that I need, I've discovered, was 158 by 50, or vice versa, because they swap them round. So that's really small. I'm never going to need a number bigger than that. Because I'm using bytes and things, it means it'll save a lot of space, but I needed to have a code, some way of saying, okay, well that means you need to draw a filled rectangle or something. So 200, because I'm never going to need numbers that high. Draw a filled circle, 201, unfilled circle, etc, etc. You get the drift. So this bit simply just reads through it, and depending on which number it is, I've only got the draw circle bit now because I just want to see whether it works. Bing! Yes! That's the round part of the R. Right then, I have all the different if statements. I'm keeping it nice and simple. I'm sure there'd be many more complicated ways of doing it. Keep it simple, stupid, so that I can understand what's going on when it doesn't work. So there we are, 200, that's the draw filled circle, 201 draw unfilled circle, uncoloured circle, rectangles and quadrangles. So the moment of truth, I can feel myself putting it off. There's the array. Oh, come on, let's just do it. Ooh, the nerves. Oh, here we go. What's it going to do? Yes! Oh, difference. Oh, that is so exciting because that looks exactly like that one, the original R from the font. I'm so pleased. Adding and subtracting the circle. Oh, and the quadrangle thing, I think it's called a quadrangle. Oh, that's most exciting because now that's in the paint area. I can arrange that wherever I want. And then when I've done other letters, obviously I can just, and because they're vectors, I can stretch them, squash them. Oh, the sky's the limit, I tells you. Oh, I'm thrilled with that. And I've just done the maths and worked out that my array, that's 35 bytes long, is 272 bits. That's not much. And just the paint area that it needs, so I'd have to have stored it all as a bitmap, 6,400 bits. What a saving, I tells you. Right, now I'm thrilled. So now I need to take the dog for a walk before too long, always that time of day again, and then start encoding, drawing out and encoding all the other letters. But I now know it's possible, that's the main thing. Excellent. I'll walk you through the sketch. So there's all the extra bits, the libraries and things. I'm going to be able to delete a load of those because many of those are storing the other fonts, the bitmap fonts, so I'll get rid of all of those. Learning some libraries that allow it to write to the e-paper. Defining some, oh, that's where it live and learn. I now understand why the coloured or uncoloured text was getting sent through as an integer. Right. Yes, thank you. Live and learn as always. And then it sets up some bits and pieces that it needs to set up. Don't have to worry about that. Then it initializes, even though all the help sheets and things say this doesn't actually return anything. So I thought, oh, I'll be clever, don't need that, commented it out. But of course it does, because it needs to initialize the e-paper, even though it doesn't return anything. Then we clear the frame memory, so we basically blank the screen, anything that's already been on it, and it flashes twice. Then we set up the paint area, and that's the width is actually the height, and the height is actually the width, but we won't worry about that. Just make note, the width has to also be in multiples of 8, because it's sort of how many bytes of bitmap image is required to write each bit. And I found for the M, I think, the character M, 128 high, which is the full height of the paper, by 50 wide was fine. And that doesn't, I think that's about 6,000 bytes, that bits, whatever that comes to. Far less than the 8,192 we can use. Then we create a paint object. Well, we've created it already actually. We clear the paint object uncoloured, so it's white. We ignore all our comments and notes. There we are, there's my array, bytes. So that's 1 byte per number, and that's great because they're all under 255. So that saves lots of space. Integers are 2 bytes. Anyway, stop getting sidetracked. So it goes through, and there it says draw a circle, filled circle. There are the 3 coordinates it needs for that, and so on and so forth. Works out the size of the array, the length. I remember looking this up, and it gets proper programmers really angry. Well, one time I have got very angry. Why do you need to know the length of an array when you've created it? Because the length arrays are, you have to, they can't change the length of them, the dimensions. You can change what's in them, but you can't do that. It made them ever so angry. It's amazing. But you can find out the length of an array by finding size of the whole array divided by the size of one part of the array, and that tells you how many bits, bytes, whatever you've got. Array position is 0, it's just an integer variable, so we know where we are stepping through the array. And then while, all this is within a while loop. And I get the bottom of the while loop in here. There we are, there's the bottom of the while loop. While array position, that's the one that we're reading from, we're changing, is small or equal to array length, keep going. If it's bigger, stop. And then it basically just goes through, okay. If the value of our draw at position, well, it's 0 it starts off at, is 200, then draw a filled circle. Then, and read the other values from array pos plus 1, array pos plus 2, array pos plus 3. And then we're going to add 3 to the array pos. I'll tell you why in a minute. And it just goes through searching for whichever thing it needs to do and does it. And it leaves the array pos position setting variable just at the last thing that's been loaded into the last draw function. The reason being that then at the end it's going to add another one. We know all these are going to be safe, that will fit in, they will be able to be read from the array because they've all been defined and that the right number are left after it's found one of these numbers, if that makes any sense. But then we add one more at the end to take it on to the next position, the next block of information. That's when the while will then check and leave it, and then that's it really. And then once it's gone round, you set the memory frame to the paint that we've just created, the paint image, display it, and go to sleep. Sleep. And there's my function version, draw filled quadrangle. So that's sending it all the different things, doing the calculations, and then this time I'm just keeping it simple, as I say. So easy to complicate everything. But if CU, and this is what I was talking about, the text they use for colour or uncoloured, I couldn't work it out, so I used a Boolean. It's really caught me out once. So this says, okay, if CU is true, then colour it. Else, if it's false, then uncolour it. I will fiddle around, but proof of concept, and then that's it, basically. Nothing in the loop. That's where we'll have the real-time clock being read and setting bits and pieces. It was that. Live and learn. So whenever it sees that, the coloured or the uncoloured, all in capitals, it'll think of them as being a 0 or a 1. Isn't that amazing? Well, it's not amazing. It is for me. Now that means that I've been able to change my function to include coloured and uncoloured there, rather than Boolean true and false, because my function uses draw rectangle down here. Basically I can just, you can pass the argument as an integer, 0 or 1, and then pass that on to the paint draw rectangle, because I had a look inside all these complicated library things and found it, and that's when I found it said an integer. I thought, what? So something else learnt. Oh, it tells you. The thing is, I think my mind is like a first in, first out shift register, because I went to put the car in for a service last week, a few days ago, and I couldn't remember the name of my dog or my phone number, my mobile phone number. It's been shifted out, all this new information coming in one end and this stuff falling out the other end. Dear oh dear. I thought I'd try an A. And look, dear friends, there's the A. How amazing. I think that's probably enough for another video, about 20 minutes. It's all so exciting. Thank you so much for all your kind comments and encouragement. Greatly appreciated. Now, the next job is to get all the rest of the letters encoded, turned into vectors. And then, of course, there is the issue of getting the Arduino to choose a particular array, because you can't just sort of put a block of arrays in an array and say, okay, I want that array. You have to do, I remember doing it with a couple of projects. You have to have references and also, the joy. Old dog, new tricks. I look forward to that. But we're getting there, which is most exciting. Thanks again for watching. Hope to see you next time.